And good evening, everyone. It's late. It's Fulton. It's Fulton After Dark as the 2021 high school football season is underway. And tonight, the Fulton Falcons went on the road to Dusty Lennon Stadium in the Battle on the Hill. And the 54th Battle on the Hill, the Fulton Falcons come away with a 35-0 victory. We want to thank you for joining us here on our WKCS Radio YouTube channel and also live right now on WKCS Radio. The first time that we've done it like this, but we'll try to do this several more times this year. Fulton After Dark, where we have an opportunity to sit down and chat with the head coach of the Fulton Falcons, Coach Rob Black, and also co-defensive coordinator Jeff McMillan is our guest today on today's show. And first of all, Coach Black, such a long preseason and so much anticipation to get the season started, and you had to be pleased with the way your team played.
You know, final result's good. You know, I'm sure we're going to find a ton of things that we need to work on, but, man, we're going to enjoy this. And you said it, you know, it's a long off season, and, you know, guys put in a lot of hours, a lot of work, and so to finally have a chance to, you know, go out on game night and try to enjoy a win and you know, pop a fly.
Flies after dark here in the Fulton High School team room, so we'll try not to be attacked anymore with that. This is a special night, getting to play Austin East, and I know it had to mean a lot to their community with so much that's gone on over the last several months. For everybody to gather together and have a rivalry game on their field definitely had to mean a lot for the Austin East community.
Well, you know, we've dealt with some of the same things here that they're dealing with right now, and you know, that community's hurting over there right now, and you know, for them, I'm sure tonight was kind of healing to get to come together and do something positive. And, you know, playing a football game is a positive thing. And so, you know, I hurt for them. I hurt for Coach Mays. You know, I talked to him at the Jamboree the other night, and then talked to him, you know, before the game tonight. And he's a good guy, and he's the right guy, and those kids over there need him right now. And you know, it's tough when you start talking about young people at that age losing their life, and especially when it's one of your football players and a guy that's a part of a team. So a tough night, I'm sure, for them, but a positive night to get to come together and play the game of football.
And I think what's interesting about it is it's really interesting the way the communities and the schools have each other's back. But when it's time to play football, it's all about Fulton and it's all about Austin East. And it truly is a rivalry from that standpoint because there's a lot of pride on the line.
There is, and you said it with the pride. I mean, you know, both communities are proud communities and proud of their sports teams and their schools, and it is a rivalry. It means something to these communities, and it means something to our kids to have a chance to play and get after Austin East. And they've known each other forever, and they're buddies until tonight. And then tonight they go into battle, and we were fortunate to come out on top of this one.
Coach Mack, I know one of the challenges on the defensive side of the football for a first game of the year is you don't have a whole lot to go on. You get a scrimmage film and maybe get an opportunity to see Austin East in the Jamboree. What kind of challenge is it to put together a defensive game plan when you just don't have a lot of information to go on?
It's tough. I mean, you know, we saw a couple of formations and some routes and runs and things like that, but you know, we're going to do what we do, and we pretty much cover all formations and motions and things like that. So even though we saw some things tonight that we hadn't seen on film, you know, we were pretty prepared for it, and you know, played a really good game defensively. I thought Wednesday was our best defensive practice we've had in a long time.
Well, and the defense got a shutout tonight, which is a great way to start the season. And definitely, if you look at this Fulton team, the defensive side of the football is one of the definite strengths of the team because you have experience in the front seven and a lot of experience in the secondary as well.
We do. You know, we've got kids in the secondary that can run, and we've worked all summer long on reading routes and that kind of thing back there with them, and they picked it up really well. And I think we had 3 picks tonight and maybe a couple of fumble recoveries. So, you know, anytime you get 5 takeaways on a Friday night, that's a good thing.
and tell us a little bit about just up front, just the kind of players that you have. Obviously, one guy that really stepped up, and we say his name a lot, is Keenan Vaughn, but also back there, kind of that nickel position, I thought Dre Peebles had a great game tonight.
Dre did, we asked him to do a lot of things, rush the passer, drop into coverage, play man coverage. I mean, we asked him to do a lot, and he really changed his body a lot in the last couple of years. I mean, he's a senior now and can do a lot of things for us, not just on defense, but on offense as well. And Keenan's changed his body a lot too. Keenan's probably 20 pounds heavier and ran track for me last year and increased his speed some, and he's kind of hard to handle off the edge.
Tell us also about some of the guys that are new in the mix that you think are going to be contributors for the defense this year.
Well, we got Thumper there in the middle, and he played some last year, and he's starting at inside linebacker now. And Davion is back at corner. Dre played corner last year, and we moved him to nickel. And Landon Holbrook, he's 6'5", 200-pound, rangy kind of kid. Still his second year playing, played a little bit last year, not a whole lot, and he's starting to pick it up. So we've developed a little bit of depth up there. Of course, with Seth not playing tonight, that hampered our depth a little bit up front. But Bill's been there for 3 years, and Cam's been there for 3 years, and both those are really good players that we can count on.
Well, and you were able to do a great job against the run for the most part tonight.
We were, till we started subbing and getting some of those younger kids in to give those guys a break on defense, because we really can't afford to give them a break on offense and the offensive line. But we played really well, and when we gave up a couple runs, gave them some yardage, and then put those guys back in, we shut them down again. So.
And Coach Black, one of the challenges for this team this year is because you have a lot of experience all over the field, but it's going to be guys that are going to be playing a lot. What were the preparations in the preseason just to get these guys ready to be able to play a lot of snaps on Friday night?
We talked about it from day one. I mean, when we started our summer workouts, we talked about being experienced but not having a ton of depth. So our job as coaches was to try to build some depth and then work our tail off and try to get in shape. And that's the crazy thing when you go into your first game like tonight. You really don't know what kind of shape you're in, and that's a challenge for us because going into it playing a lot of guys both ways. We knew we were going to have to sub some guys, and we knew we were going to have to get some guys ready, and we did that for the most part defensively tonight. And again, we've got a lot of those offensive line that play defensive line as well, and so. Like Coach Mack said, there was a few times where, we made some subs on the defensive side of the ball so that we could stay fresh on the offensive side. So, some challenges, but, some questions were answered tonight, and maybe we're not in as bad a shape as we thought, but we've got to get in better shape, and we'll continue to work on that.
Getting off to a fast start, probably a key in a rivalry game, and Fulton was able to definitely do that. You get a stop of Austin East on their first offensive drive, and then you're able to quickly get the ball in the end zone as Marcellus with a 10-yard touchdown run, starting off a nice drive for the Falcons. So you've played 3 minutes of football and you're already up 7-0.
Well, and that's huge. We talked about that starting fast, and trying to get some momentum early, and we were able to do that. The thing that happened really was we did have a quick strike a couple of times right there and got 14-0. I think we kind of settled in, and maybe we were a little undisciplined at times, and that caused us to be, inconsistent offensively. And so we're able to go in at halftime and make some adjustments and then start fast again, like you said, in the second half.
How big was it for Rayshawn Jackson at quarterback to have had that opportunity to start the game against Carnes last year, as far as confidence of knowing what it's like to have to start a varsity football game?
Well, I think from a confidence standpoint, it was good for me and for him, and to know that he can go in and start a football game. Rayshawn's a good athlete, and Rayshawn can do a lot of different things for us, and probably playing against Carnes last year, playing that whole football game as a starting quarterback was huge. I'm not sure that he has the confidence and so forth tonight had he not been able to do that, last year. So he did get some experience last year as a receiver and defensive back, and then that one game at quarterback. So I'm proud of Rayshawn. I'm proud of where he's gotten to as a kid. Off the field, on the field, and he's not perfect, but he's making strides, and I like what I see out of him.
A lot of Jacksons on the field for the Falcons because, we talk about Rayshawn, but also Marcellus, which I think is going to be such a key for this football team, getting the ball in his hands. And tonight, when he did get the ball in his hands, good things happened.
It's no secret. Marcellus Jackson's a playmaker, and we're going to find ways to get him the ball, and that's going to be throwing it and running it and everything else. So I can't say enough about him. That sucker's a competitor, and he loves to play the game. He loves to compete, and he hates to lose. And those are all good things and pluses for Fulton.
Well, and Fulton gets out to a quick 14-0 lead as Marcellus hauled in a 13-yard touchdown pass with 6:20 remaining in the first quarter. You're off to a fast start, and it looked like it may be a real quick first half for the Falcons, but then all of a sudden things kind of got a little sluggish offensively.
We did. We botched a few snaps. We put the ball on the ground a time or two. Blew some assignments. They gave us, Mac talked about it earlier, they gave us a few things that we had not seen on film, things that we had talked about and worked on, but maybe not a whole lot this week. And so, we had to go make some adjustments. And, that made me proud that we were able to throw some things at them. And our guys respond and execute them, and so that was good to see tonight.
And Coach Mack, the defensive effort in the first half was pretty strong from the fact that there was a couple of turnovers that the offense had that put the defense in some bad spots, but every time you were able to find a way to get a stop, and on a couple of those occasions we're able to get turnovers to get the ball back.
Right, and we talk about sudden change quite a bit on defense, when something happens like that, sudden change from offense back to defense, you got to keep them where they are, get the ball back right there, and keep the momentum that we had before we turned it over or whatever happened there. But we talked about sudden change quite a bit, and I think we did a pretty good job of that tonight.
And definitely, as you said, halftime you were able to make some adjustments, and really in the second half really were able to see some big things happen in the running game, which will definitely be a key for the Falcons this year. If Fulton's able to run the ball, I think you've got a chance to be successful. And you really saw Davion Chenault run the ball really hard in that third quarter.
I thought so, and Coach Mack was one of them. He and I talked at halftime, and he's an old offensive coordinator, so he knows a little bit about that side of the ball as well. And so he had a couple of good ideas at halftime, and after Mack and I talked, we went in and sat down with our offensive line and, got a tight end, put an extra back in the ball game, played with a two-back set in the second half a lot, and, like I said, make some adjustments on the fly. And the good thing is you look at your team and say, hey, they're doing this, and we're going to have to switch and do this, and our guys, learned it and went and put it into play in the second half, and like you said, looked like Davion took off and had a really good start to the second half, and he did, but I think Davion would tell you those linemen and tight end and that lead blocking back did a really good job and helped him out right there.
I believe that first touchdown in the third quarter was a two-play drive. It was a 29-yard touchdown run to put the Falcons up 20-0, and then a little bit later on, right before the end of the third quarter, he had a 13-yard touchdown run that gave the Falcons the margin of 35-0 that they won by tonight. Kicking game, I thought, was pretty good tonight for the Falcons as Daniel Perez got his first start, and kickoffs, had a couple of really deep kickoffs, had a touchback, and had one that died on the 2-yard line that Austin East had to deal with.
I thought Daniel had a good night, and we missed an extra point tonight, but that was a snap hold situation, not Daniel. And those things happen sometimes. But I thought, like you said, Daniel kicked the ball really well. He's past couple of weeks. I mean, he's shown me that his leg has improved and he's able to kick the ball a lot deeper. And we feel good about him, from a field goal standpoint. So it was good to see him have a good night. He spent, the whole year last year behind Joseph, working every day and getting himself, so he prepared for this moment and took advantage of it when he got here.
and you didn't have to punt the football tonight as well.
Well, we didn't, and that's good. I mean, we like to have it on offense. There's probably a couple times that we had a few turnovers that I hated, but as far as punting goes, Daniel does that some. We use Mar punting some. We've got 3 different guys that we're using punting right now till somebody really wins that job, and we didn't give anybody a chance tonight.
We mentioned Dre Peebles. He had a touchdown catch from 8 yards. It was Rayshawn Jackson's second touchdown pass of the game, and he's a guy just on both offense and defense for Dre, I think is going to be really big for the football team.
Dre Peebles is as solid as anybody we got. I mean, he's as solid of a kid, student, guy in the weight room, leader on the field, works his tail off, and is very unselfish, and he'll do whatever we ask him to do. If it's corner, safety, linebacker, nickel, whatever, he's lined up at running back a little bit for us, plays inside receiver, outside receiver, smart kid, and he can do it all, and those kind of kids are fun to coach.
Well, and he got that touchdown. Fulton wins 35-0. You get an opportunity in the fourth quarter with the clock running to get some younger guys out there on the field, and I know with a team with not a lot of depth, it's good to get some other guys some varsity reps.
It is, and we talked about earlier in the show, building depth, and we've got to do that, and you can do that, in practice, but there's nothing like game snaps, and so to get some young guys in, a lot of freshmen got in there tonight, and a lot of freshmen, contributed to some things, whether it was special teams or offense or defense. So we got some guys in the ball game. It was good to see those guys get a few snaps in there, and like I say, have a chance to start building a little bit more depth.
And you have to feel like you have a pretty good young group of guys coming in right now.
We do. We had some young freshmen that came out a little later, but we've got some athletes in that freshman group too. So as those guys continue to grow and learn a little bit more, that's going to give us a chance to give some of these older guys a break here and there and play some of those young guys.
What will be some of the key areas as you get ready for next week that you're going to focus on, areas that the team needs to improve?
Well, I thought from a discipline standpoint, when we started getting inconsistent, a lot of that had to do with our lack of discipline, and that's got to change. We got to get that fixed this week. We put the ball on the ground a few times at a couple different positions, and Rayshawn and I talked about that. The ball rolled on the ground a little bit too often, and as you get down the line, those are the things that'll end up getting you beat. So, some penalties that were our fault, not hustle penalties, just penalties that were our fault, and putting on the ground. That's 2 things that we've got to get fixed in a hurry.
Next week, the Fulton Falcons will return to Bob Black Field for the first time this year as they take on the Central Bobcats. And really interesting start to the schedule to have your 2 big rivalry games at the beginning of the season.
We've played Central early before, and we played AE early. I'm not sure we've played them both back to back, and rivalry games are fun, but rivalry games make you pull your hair out sometimes too. So looking forward to it. Fulton and Central are 2 storied programs, with a lot of history, and I think we obviously respect that program over there, and I think they feel the same for us. So I don't expect anything but a dogfight as we go into that one next week.
Well, and I know a game like this, a rivalry game like this against an outstanding program like Central, it gets everyone's attention, and I think everybody just has a little bit of extra pep in their step as they prepare for the week.
Well, I think so. I think 2 things. Number 1, it being Central, and number 2, we're coming off of a win in our opening game. So a lot to be excited about, a lot to look forward to for our guys, and so our hope is that we have a really focused week. Mac talked about what Wednesday's practice looked like, and it was good. We came in the staff room when we finished, and we talked about what a good day it was, and so we need to put a lot of those together and learn to be a more consistent football team.
And Coach Mack, Central obviously offensively really improving. They've got some weapons, so it'll be I know a tough week for the Falcons to try to game plan to find a way to stop the Bobcats.
It will be, they got to where they run the ball better than they usually do, and you got the Seaway kid back and out on the edge, and like to run a lot of bubble screens and throw it vertical down the field. So it'll be a tough assignment for us, but we'll get in there and figure it out, and we'll get a plan together, and the kids will figure it out, and they'll work hard, and we'll be ready to go.
Last year's game had to kind of leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth. You felt like you had a chance. Team just didn't play well last year against Central.
You know, we didn't execute. I didn't really fault our effort when we left that game. We just didn't execute, and we were in the football game, had a chance to win it, and I felt like I let that one slip away, and so it does leave a bad taste in your mouth, and hopefully it tastes as bad to our players as it does to us. So if that's the case, we'll get to work this week and make sure that doesn't happen again. And
we certainly need a big crowd at Bob Black Field.
Man, it would be awesome. We went through a COVID year last year where, you had a limited crowd, and man, I can remember, and Mac will remember them too, back in the old days when Fulton Central played, man, it was a packed house, and if we could get that again, that kind of atmosphere, I think it would be huge for our community. So hopefully our fans and our parents and our students and the whole community comes out and packs this place out, and we have a great atmosphere for our guys to play in.
Well, it's time to get excited about Fulton football. The Falcons are 1-0 on the year as they go on the road and win against the Austin East Roadrunners. Big win for the Falcons. Next week, it'll be the Central Bobcats here at Bob Black Field. Kickoff, remember, is at 7 o'clock. And if you can't be here in person, and we certainly hope that you will be here in person, you can hear the broadcast on the radio on WKCS 91.1 FM, and you can see the video stream on our YouTube channel. Just search for WKCS Radio on YouTube. Coach Black, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Coach Mack, congratulations. And I think we need to send out a special congratulations. You were on the phone with him just a minute ago, to Coach Justin Long. Got his first win tonight at Grace.
That was huge. We watched Justin do a little interview. Justin will always have some maroon blood in him, and he's one of us. And so I was able to get him on the speakerphone in there, and our staff was able to talk to him. So, shout out to him and his first win as a head coach, and probably many to come for him.
All right, the Flies are coming in, and it means it's time to go. We'll see you next week as the Falcons host the Central Bobcats here at Bob Black Field. Until then, thanks for watching Fulton After Dark here on WKCS Radio.